nice and cozy.
Oh.
No, brother, that was mine.
No.
Right, so
Maybe.
does everyone have a C tab and a map? That's all you really need.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So, AirNav, quite a simple and short course, really. It's just discussing navigation methods in the air and things like that, going through some marking methods and just some things like that. So, pretty nice and simple, to be fair. There shouldn't be much to it. Cool. Now, I forgot to do something, so we're all going to have to stand up again. And let's join Harrison's group. So, if you're not in Harrison's group, stand up and then join his group. If you are in it, then it's all fine. There we go, cool. So when we're drawing any map lines, map markings tonight, make sure to be in group channel, just so we don't annoy J and CO with all our silly map markings. Let's get started then. So the course aims to grant individuals the understanding required to navigate effectively while airborne, as well as how to set up flight plans, how to read map markings, and how to operate in and around restricted airspaces. Nice little introduction. We'll move straight into navigational methods. So, when navigating around an AO, aircraft have aircrew have several tools and methods to help them. A good crewman or pilot will not only know each of these methods, but also how to use them together to maximize their effectiveness. So, firstly, navigation methods. So, in order to locate themselves and maneuver to destination, aircrew can use the following methods to accomplish the task. I'm going to throw one out, and then I want you to chip in with any ones you think would be a method, and then we'll discuss them. So my first one is flying by a bearing. The co-pilot gives you a bearing. You fly on that bearing. That is one way you can navigate yourself around an AO. Anything else, anyone?
I want to say Dead Reckoning.
Sorry, say that again?
Dead Reckoning? Where you fly, course and time. It's like
Speed
Oh,
difference
yeah.
time.
It's with bearing, but with like 10 minutes to go that bearing and
Oh, yeah,
brightness.
sure, yeah.
So, sorry, you want just how can you tell where you are?
So what is one way you can go from A to B and know your route, know where you're going?
Features.
GPS.
What's that, Maxi?
GPS.
Yep, GPS or C-tab, yeah.
Features on the ground.
VFR, yeah.
Yep, features on the ground, yep. So I'll read through them and we'll go into more detail. So fly by bearing, following land routes, following landmarks, and established flight plans. So fly by bearing, as I described, give a bearing, you can go on that bearing, and obviously the benefit to this is if you don't shift from the heading, you'll not deviate from the route, and you'll just go straight to where you need to go. And it provides a route with the smallest number of turns, decreasing travel time. Following land routes, so utilization of land routes is also a viable option. For example, if you're flying towards a certain part of the map and a road also goes to that point, you can just fly along the road and let it navigate to you. Obviously, big towns will always have roads going in and out of them and around, so if you know where you're going, you can follow a road a certain way, and that's a way to go. Jones, you mentioned this about following landmarks. So using prominent landmarks works similar to using land routes to navigate by. So for example, obvious land features such as office block, salt flats, mast, etc. You can use this to assist yourself in reaching destination. So for example, you say you're flying west of a radio mast and then heading north, you know that you must have the radio mast on the right-hand side of the aircraft. Finally, establish flight plans. So you may also want to utilize pre-drawn flight paths to reach your destination. These can be planned before you take off and can utilize a mixture of all the above methods. So we'll quickly go over any pros and cons of each method that people think. So please let me know what you think are pros and cons of that.
Which one exactly?
Whatever you want. If you want to pick one and say pro or con.
GPS and C-tab, you know, is going to be accurate and reliable, but whilst you're following that, your head's down in the cockpit and not looking outside of what's going on around the aircraft.
Yeah, fair.
If you're navigating off features, especially in a war zone, a lot of them can become restricted areas.
Yeah.
With land routes as well, they're predictable for the enemy to set up, like AAA and other threats.
Yeah. Cool. Anything, Matsu?
Flying with visual marks can be not viable in bad weather.
Yep, exactly. Cool. I think you hit the most of them. I will comment on fly with bearing. The only real negative I see is, you're not really thinking about terrain at all. So if you have your bearing going past the mountain, you're going to be going all the way up and all the way down, which isn't great. Cool. Right, now we'll move on to tools to aid navigation. Now we've been talking about GPS and CTOW a bit, so I think I'll ask if you can find any other ones in those. But yeah, as a crewman, as a pilot, you have several tools at your disposal to assist you in navigation. So we talked about GPS, we talked about CTAB and GPS. What other ones you may think of?
These have
Map
GP what?
tools.
Tools to aid navigation, so tools you're going to navigate by.
Map.
Yep,
Clock.
sure.
Clock. Sounds stupid, but
Yeah.
that's literally how the military fly, is using a clock.
Anything
Wow.
else?
Copilot.
I mean, if you want to call your co-pilot a tool, sure.
Oh yeah,
Um,
your crew on board to be able to look out for other landmarks and stuff.
There's kind of one big one you're kind of missing, so to speak.
Smokes and flares.
Radio. Communication with the ground.
Right, I'll say it. You're missing kind of HMG and kind of onboard equipment, such as all the rest that's going to give you your bearing, for example, and things like that.
HMG, as in.
So you have GPS, CTAB, HMD, onboard
Mountain,
optics,
mountain.
and also
Oh,
shift
HMD.
click.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So GPS, you'll have some sort of GPS, which can be viewed in the left or right panel of the ArmA UI. That'll give you your position relative to your surroundings, as well as your six-figure grid. CTAB, so pilots have CTAB to utilize. This provides the same things as GPS does, but allows you to zoom in and out on a real-time map of the battle space and keep track of current routes, restrictions in the AO, and all the map markings you have. HMD, so pilots in the front seat might have a helmet-mounted display or HMD showing all the relevant information such as speed, height, bearing, and vertical speed. Onboard optics, so pilots and co-pilots will potentially have access to onboard optics, allowing them to focus on smaller features for them to navigate by. And shift click, so if you shift click on a point on a map, provides a marker on your HMD showing its location, distance relative to you. Obviously, I think that's kind of 50-50 in terms of who has it, who are not on server, but that is also another method. So again, we'll go through pros and cons of any of those navigation, tools to aid navigation.
HMD, only the pilot's got it, the co-pilot doesn't.
Yep. Anything else?
Can you just repeat the last part? Sorry.
Shift click.
Yeah.
So if you shift click on a point on the map, that will provide a marker on your HMD showing its location and distance relative to you.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah. Is that all good?
Yeah.
So is that
That
only
one,
visible
yeah.
to you? It's not visible to anyone else in the aircraft, is it?
No, only be visible to you on your HMD.
Yeah, on HMD, yeah.
With that point, it get very good, but I've not flown something yet, but maybe tunnel vision on that point. Not really seeing
Yeah.
surrounding.
Yeah.
Lack
Very
of
true.
situational awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, massive pro to CTAB is obviously it's very, very live. HMD, sorry. The only real negative I can say is it can sometimes be not very great in either direct sunlight or, for example, when you're flying at night. Onboard optics, that's mostly going to be your co-pilot or your gunner focusing on that, so it requires communication in terms of that navigation as well.
There's one. I'm not sure it's covered in the air nav. This is just me chatting a shit deck, basically. But what I do when I'm flying with someone is if I ever have to, I'm mainly pilot. If I ever have to draw my attention away from looking outside, I say to the co-pilot, go in eyes in to look at the map,
Yeah, I do the
and
same.
basically that says to him to look outside and not in the gun looking through the turret. It basically tells him to look out while I'm doing something, so they'll keep track of like the altitude and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a way you can counter tunnel vision.
was thinking as well, particularly with the C tab, things like power lines. It'll say on the map where power lines are, but it gives no indication of the height. So sometimes you can go over them, they can be quite small. Sometimes they can be much taller. And sometimes we found they can be quite hidden as well.
Are they?
Yeah.
They're not on this map though, are they? Because, for example, there's a set of power lines literally to the
No,
west.
the power lines aren't modelled on this map, but on
North.
the when we're on ops, they are.
Oh, Roger, yeah, happy. Yeah, because I was literally wondering about that earlier, because that's a good way to nav, is using power lines.
Yeah, true. Cool. Right, we'll move into map symbols. So firstly, we'll go through the colors and symbols of map markers. So color black will be a runway number. I think that is correct. So a runway number is going to be your black dots typically. Amber and gold will be your taxiway. White will be aircraft parking, gate, ramp, or hangar information, numbers, etc., etc. Red will be important information, for example, ROZ information. And then blue will be routine tasks, so HLS names. We're 18 use that for logistics, and just routine information needs to be put on the map about any markings and things like that.
Warren.
So moving into where we use that then.
Warren.
Yep.
This, so how you said about the red simplifies stuff.
Yep.
If you look on your map and look at phase 1 areas, ROS is for some reason in amber.
Yeah, it is wrong, but yeah, there you go. The problem is this map is just edited by infantry bots who don't know procedures, so you're never going to find it really. But in terms of operation, we don't get like fixed map markers like that, so it'll be absolutely fine. Cool. So types of map symbol then. So we firstly have, I'm going to be putting these on the map and group channel as well, just around us. First we have a dot, so key information, so runway numbers and things like that. I'm going to put a blue dot. Actually, no, I'm going to put a black dot on this lake, which I'm now going to have runway 27. And then the other one here is the runway. What's going to be opposite 27? It's going to be. Fuck. Is Heathrow's range? Is it 1A? No, it's 009. That's it.
09, yeah.
There we go. So that's our new seaplane for our seaplanes that go along that lake. That's that information. Pickup markers are typically our HLSs. So go down to pickup. That'll be a blue because it's routine tasking. HLS alpha. So if you're ever marking HLS on a map, typically done with like that. Objective markers are going to be like this and are often going to be maybe red or maybe blue, depends. But say we're going to be this town. Objective red, as you see on there. Flag markers is going to be point of interest with a description. Where's the flag marker? There's the flag. And it's going to be kind of routine tasking. And point of interest might be, for example, these. I think they're. I don't know what these are. I think that's wind turbines. Yes. There we go. Point of interest, wind turbines. And finally is an arrow, which will show direction of travel, typically around something like a holding pattern, which we'll get onto later. Arrows are quite cool because you can click them down and then you can change their direction as well as size of where they're pointing and things like that. So typically for like a holding pattern, we'll have arrow is purple along our purple line, which we'll get onto later. But yeah, if you want to spend some time just double clicking, changing the marker type, just seeing how you can. I think you can change direction to any marker, never mind, not just arrows. But yeah, feel free to just familiarize yourself with how to place markers if you are not familiarized with it. But yeah, if there's no questions of map markings,
No, sorry, how did you do that again? How did you change direction?
double click, and then you underneath the where
Oh,
what
yeah.
color you're selecting, you can then just spin it around.
Oh yeah. Seen.
Cool.
So if you press Alt and click, you can drag it and move it on the map.
Yes, yes,
Ah,
yes.
okay.
Oh, and click it, and you'll be able to
Getting
move the marker across. Very, very handy. All right. I'm going to presume we're all happy with that.
Yeah.
So we're moving to C-tab symbols. So if we open our C-tabs, firstly, nice and common is going to be our HLS symbol. So that is going to be found in double click, blue for HLS. That's going to be our HLS marker. Enemy symbols. So there are a ton. There used to be a document, but sadly that was deleted by someone. So if you go to opt4, you can pick a number of different ones. Infantry, for example, fire team, and then you can select whether they're stationary, whether they're going a certain place, whatever like that. Obviously, more relates to 662, but it's always nice to know kind of some of the markers in terms of what they mean. The main ones to be really aware of is, for example, that tank one that was put down. You don't have things like mechanized and motorized and rotary wing and fixed wing and things like that. All just good things to know.
Did you said before that you didn't have any more the documents that say what the markers are?
The document linked in the course has been deleted. So
I
unless
have the link if you want.
oh, is it a new document?
Something Healy gave me.
Oh, fair. And if you wanted to send it to DMs to Harrison and
cheat
Jones,
codes,
that
right.
would be quite cool.
I'm sure I've got the real world one somewhere, if that's useful.
Fair, yeah. That I mean, if you're used to those markers, then all fine. Next is your friendly symbol, which will mark friendly units. So, for example, if we go over to JNCO, we zoom in, we can see these are infantry call signs because we can see their box, and we can also see 1-1 echo. So that's gonna be one platoon, one section. It's gonna be A because the first number is the company. So 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C. So secoy. So
What the
that's
fuck
gonna
is
be
that
ACOI.
marker?
It's going to be one platoon. That's going to be Echo. So it's going to be Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Echo. So it's going to be one section, 2 IC.
Warren, what is that marker?
What marker?
The purple 1413. Near
That
King's Division to
is
the.
a casualty marker. That indicates there's a casualty in field. So if we come back to us rather than zooming in over there.
Wait. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, it was because it was green when I looked at it. So I was a bit confused. Yeah, and it's purple on the map. Okay.
Yeah, medical. That will indicate. Yeah, they've changed the color, but they haven't changed that. So that indicates. So that would typically be put down when, say, infantry section is retreating or they're going forward and they've taken a T1. They mark that on their T1, so then someone from TMW can run up behind and go there instead, just in case the section has to move right now and they have to abandon their T1 in field. Then obviously you have your CCP, which is just your circle. Finally is squad markers. So if we zoom all the way in, we should be able to see that you can see where we're looking. We can see our color of what we've marked on our group. It's a great way to finding where people are in your group if you don't know where they are. That's a very, very good way. Another good way of finding out what other call signs are doing in terms of air assets is, for example, if you see the Apache and they have a helicopter symbol, then you know they're in the Apache. If they have the infantry symbol, then they are walking around. And if they have the vehicle symbol, then you know they're in a vehicle or something on those lines. So it's a very, very handy way to finding out what a call sign is doing at a certain point. Say if they're off somewhere and you don't really know, not moving or something, you can look in and say, they're in an infantry symbol, so maybe they've crash landed, because that does happen as well. So that's always a very good way to find out what people are doing without having to radio call, whatever like that. Cool. Right, we have done all those map symbols and stuff. Is everyone happy with all that?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Cool. Right. And for all of these, if you click delete when hovering over them, you can delete them and delete these quickly. Right, we'll move on to flight plans. So, in most cases, a flight plan will be the most appropriate way to plan your route. It allows you to visualize your approach, plan around obstacles, and mark on the map your route for others to see and possibly follow if they have to make the same journey. So, firstly, considerations when marking up a flight plan. So, when planning a route, there will be several considerations to make before marking it on the map. So, we'll go out to you guys again. What considerations do you think should we put towards a flight plan?
Safety.
Terrain.
What do you say, Max?
Safety.
In terms of what?
Like not fly directly above the objective or non-enemy position.
Yeah, so any activity around there. Cool. Jones, what did you say?
Terrain.
Yep, terrain. Harrison?
Power lines.
Very true. That's kind of linked to terrain, so I'll give you another chance to say another one.
Speed.
Yes, to some degree, yeah. You got one, Harrison?
I'm thinking back to like predictability and stuff. You don't want to fly a really obvious route. You want to not necessarily go A to B, depending on what you're doing. You want to say conceal the aircraft to come in a way that's going to say protect you and also have that certain amount of surprise.
Yeah, kind of links into task, which is one of those. Right, I'll read them through and then we'll discuss more if we need to. So, firstly, approach heading. So, take into consideration the heading you want to be on approach your destination. So, tight HLS, enemy locations, and terrain will all play a factor in which direction you approach from. Try to set your flight plan up to accommodate this, reducing the number of tight turns the aircraft will need to make on a final approach. Obstacles and routes. So sometimes taking an alternate route to avoid large obstacles may be necessary, especially when operating at low altitude. Consider the pros and cons of going around a problem rather than over it. Enemy activity. So if any enemies between you and your destination, you may want to take a longer, safer route rather than putting yourself at risk. Tasks. So some tasks will require you to override other safety concerns due to time sensitivity. So missions such as MERT, ECAS, and emergency resupply will all require you to create a short, fast flight plan rather than a long, safe one. Altitude restrictions. So consider how low the aircraft will need to fly to properly negate certain threats and what obstacles this may place in your way. And finally, terrain. So terrain is both pro and con to do with flight planning. In hostile territory, it can master your approach until the very last second. In friendly territory, it is an unnecessary obstacle in your way. So yeah, look to balance the use of terrain.
I was thinking as well, till the most recent Wednesday op, we flew in a certain direction to keep the minigun on the left side.
Yeah.
And that has influenced the flight plan.
Yeah. Cool. So those are your main considerations. I will quickly jump back up to approach heading quickly. My biggest advice to people who are drawing flight plans is always draw it from your destination rather than to your destination. So, for example, I'll draw this on map actually. If I'm going, say this is I'm in purple. Say this is my HLS here, and I'm coming from the airfield over here. Rather than spend all the time, intricately planning, oh, where do I want to go, or I'm running out of time, like that, for example. The main important part of your flight phase to your destination is going to be your ingress. Typically, as our destination is where it's hot, where it's critical, and where it really does mean something in terms of where we fly. So if you start from where you're going, you can plan, you can zoom all the way in, you can really think about your obstacles. When you get a certain part where you can think, oh, to be fair, we can just do that, and we can negate that on our route because it's not a massive deal. You always want to be focusing on your HLS or wherever you're going because that's your most important part of your flight. A lot of people coming in here will, they spend all the time from the start. Oh, right, let's be really good in my flight plan. I want to show I do a really good flight plan. Then we're so close to HLS and it's just not even done there yet, and they have to go and rush it quickly. And then the time has been spent where it really doesn't matter. So just be aware of that as something to focus on. Right, where do we get to?
You've got to be coming back.
Types of flight plan. So, all flight plans will need to be marked differently according to the mission data note. So, firstly is our combat air patrol. This is for the jets. We don't have a jet anymore, but fuck it, I'm going to teach it anyway. Combat air patrol. This is used to should a patrol of an air superiority aircraft. This is usually placed in a closed circuit in triangular shape and will be spread across the whole AO. So, cap routes are typically just a triangle. You want to point the hypotenuse towards the AO, so that's the longest side of the triangle. For example, if we were in the AO, this is how you would have it. And if the AO was on the other side of the map, you would then bring us on the other side. So hopefully you see that big triangle, and that is what you would fly in a air superiority aircraft. Next is our transport/routine flight plan. Used to show the plan of a routine flight or transport flight. This will be point-to-point route and will likely be used for both ingress and egress. Marked in blue, as we all know. I'm not going to draw that, as I hope you all know those. Holding patterns. Holding patterns will be placed around runways or holding areas to show the path of aircraft in the pattern. They'll have arrows to show direction of travel. These will be usually rectangular in shape and closed. Holding patterns are marked in purple. So this is a holding pattern. I'm just going to draw a big box, typically just a box like this, nothing really intricate. And then we're going to grab our arrows. We're going to point them the right way and pop like that. I will say, it takes a long time to do the arrows. Sometimes I just find it much easier to just do this on map. A lot easier, still saying it's the same thing. There's no problem in doing that. And sometimes it's a little bit more legible as well. So do as you want. If you want to spend the time doing that, then you can. If you don't, then you don't. No need to add extra arrows. Just add one on each side, really, is the main thing. Finally is another thing from the jet, but I'll teach anyway. Strike flight plan. So strike flight will should a route of an attacking aircraft should a route an attacking aircraft will take to a predetermined target. Not used for CAS or ECAS runs, but instead deep surgical strikes. They'll be point to point and will have separate route for ingress and egress. They'll usually have points showing information such as speeds and altitudes along them. Attack flight plans are marked in yellow for approach phase, black for terminal phase, and green for the egress phase. So let's have a little think. Say we're going to be striking on us, where we are right now. Our approach phase, we're going to come straight over the water in our yellow line. So about here. Our terminal phase, where we're going to be dropping our bombs, is going to be over us. And in our green egress phase, say we want to just route back out the way we can as soon as possible, get away from any enemy territory. We're just going to do that, for example. That's going to be our nice approach phase going in. No need for arrows, because the color will indicate what our route is, right? Because you know yellow is for your approach, so there's no need to pay attention for extra arrows. And then also you have speed and altitude, so that'd be in our blue marker for our typical information. Say we want to be 100 above at the end of our approach phase, 100 meters, and say you don't want any speed, so any speed you can do. Actually, you probably want to be more than 100, looking at the height of this hill being 125, so maybe you want to be 300 above. And as we get out, say we just want to get high and as fast as possible. That'll work. Obviously, spell possible right, but that will typically work. Just labeling that strike combat route. But yeah, again, something on a jet, but we do it anyway. Right, final stretch then. We're moving into restricted airspaces. Firstly is our restricted operator zone, ROZ. ROZs are used to limit the activity of aircraft in a certain patch of the sky. This could be due to AA threats, operational political reasons, such as an ROZ may be placed over a town to reduce noise levels, keep the local populace happy. A marker in the top right corner of the ROZ will provide a reason for the ROZ. That's very, very important. And the ROZ are usually not allowed to be entered without express permission from EWHQ. So ROZs are a red box with lines going from the southwest to northeast. going through the box at 1 kilometer intervals. I'm going to draw one firstly. I'm going to give it a nice just 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer box, ROZ. Reason for this is going to be rotor wash keeps putting all the trees down to the ground. So ROZ, forest matter. For this, personally, you can just do one line, or I quite like to just do like that, nice and simple. Some people when drawing ROZ will add so many different lines, it becomes a mess. You really don't need that, right? You just need, for example, in this one, 3 keeps it nice and pretty. You don't need any more than 3. You know, just try and make it legible for everyone flying it more than anything, because you just want people to be able to see it, understand that, and if they accidentally go in, be able to see a line of red to understand, hey, I might be going to something I shouldn't be going into.
Can I ask who puts those?
Sorry?
Who puts those RSZs up?
IDRHQ, JTAC, and sometimes 18 flight leads. I think more so. I think, to be fair, anyone can. It's mainly just, you know, needs to be communicated at least somewhere. I think for the patchy side of things, you'll probably talk to JTAC and say, hey, you know, maybe get an RZ up around this area.
Yeah, the only reason was, for example, yesterday, I don't know if you saw the ROZ, the RPG fire.
Yeah, I put that up.
Breaking into that to engage targets, but there's, for example, an ROZ for RPG fire. I think it uses a bit of initiative depending on where you're flying and your heights and stuff. Because we got told off for flying over it. That's high altitude while engaging a target. I was like, well, it's RPG fire, you know. If it fucking hits us at this altitude, then fucking fair play. But
yeah, I mean, that's just something you need to just bring up and say, hey, you know, is RZ needed anymore? Because I think something I found a lot is that, you know, RS is put up and it stays there the whole night and nobody thinks about it again, and it's like very, very frustrating. Yeah. And it's all about just, you know, being to the ground and saying, hey, right, is this needed anymore? Is this, you know, do we need this anymore? Is the threat still there? Like, you might know, and you might kill something, and you may not know, actually, RS's done. You call up to JTAC and say, hey, JTAC, you know, we've combated this threat. I don't think this RS's needed anymore. Let's pull it down. And, you know, they say, yep, good, right idea. And then someone pulls it down off the map. That's, you know, just nice, easy communication is really needed for these, just with everyone.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's really our ROZ. Main things to know is obviously give a good label, especially for, like you mentioned, so we know what the threat is, so then we can understand later on in the operation when we've completely forgotten about it, we can go back and say, oh, this ROZ was up for this, but this doesn't exist anymore. So, you know, it's just very, very good to have a label. Secondly, don't draw a million lines, especially when it's a small ROZ. So I'm going to draw a really small one next to it. And if I draw a million lines, you cannot see anything. And if you zoom out, it's going to turn into a blob of just red. And it's not very nice to see. So you do not want that. Right, that's our ROZs. Next is our battle points. So attack gunships may place BPs at tactically advantageous positions around the map. These are designed to provide a gunship with a fixed point to observe and fire from. BPs will be marked by a blue box with a marker in the top left corner. BPs can enter along as the aircraft currently occupying it is notified. So nice and simple. It's a blue box on map with an indication at the top of the map, top of the box, right hand corner, saying BP number 1 or BP alpha, however your number of conventioning is happening that night. BPA. And finally is our holding area. So holding areas are put around our holding patterns. That is going to be a black box. And this will encompass the holding area and also indicate a name of the holding area. So holding area alpha. And then typically what happens is that's the holding area. We put a holding pattern in to indicate if there's 2 more aircraft in the holding area, that can then be followed, and then aircraft will roughly follow that and stay within the black box as necessary. So yeah, aircraft are free to enter this area and usually keep themselves out of harm's way here, or waiting for HS to open up or runway to clear. And if you ever have your blue flight plan going through it, you can absolutely continue on a blue flight plan without notifying anyone. Main thing really is to always be aware of aircraft around you, and if you know someone's holding in this and you're having to go through, you just say, hey, right, I'm heading through, all right, or even you take the initiative to say, right, hey, they're holding there, I'm not going to go through that because I want to just be deconflicted with them, so then I'm going to go around it instead. So always just give a little bit of initiative to deal with these conflicts and just ensure that aircraft are deconflicted when necessary.
Can't you also find an altitude or multiple ones to an holding pattern?
Sorry?
Assign altitude to the holding pattern?
Typically not, because different aircraft will want to fly at different altitudes. For example, Chinook will often hug the ground during the holding area. Or another Chinook might come along and say, hey, I just want to stick above all terrain so I don't have to worry about it while I look down in the cockpit at my CTAP and sort something. Like sometimes when I'm in a holding area and I'm doing flight lead, I'm organizing the other birds to come and pick up the company or something with me. So it's all organizing those things. So I just want to be at a certain altitude. Or Apache, for example, you guys might just want to stay at your normal operating altitude while in one of those. So then you might want to fly even higher. So it's often just whatever, really. Same thing with our traffic patterns that are in purple as well. It's the same thing, really, because altitudes will depend on what type of aircraft you're in. So, but yeah, that is the course done. So nice and easy. I'll take any questions now. If you wanted to practice drawing up an ROZ or drawing up a holding area, please go for it. Otherwise, you are free to go if there's no questions or anything. I'll get your course badges in next half an hour or so.
Mega's question, mate. Thank you very much. Cheers for your time.
Awesome. Thank you. See ya.